Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and ULTRON is confirmed to return to the MCU, with Deadline reporting that James Spader is playing the character once again in the upcoming Vision series, previously known as Vision Quest, though that title may be changing. We'll get into that. This is a series shooting in early 2025 and releasing in 2026. We are also learning that Elizabeth Olsen, Wanda Maximoff, may also appear, and according to The Hollywood Reporter, the Vision series is meant to be the third part of a trilogy with WandaVision and Agatha all along. So in this video, I'm gonna explain how ULTRON is coming back, how Wanda could be coming back, whether we'll see ULTRON or Wanda as early as Agatha all along, and how these titles will really fit together as a trilogy. So this Vision series was announced back in October 2022 as a WandaVision spinoff, following the character known as White Vision, with Paul Bettany set to reprise his role. At the time, the title was known as Vision Quest. WandaVision and Agatha showrunner Jack Schaefer was set to oversee this series. We heard little about it until May 22nd, 2024, when Variety reported that Terry Matalas, showrunner of Star Trek Picard, would now be the showrunner of this Vision series, which would now be releasing in 2026, and that Jack Schaefer would now just be focusing solely on Agatha all along. Interestingly, the reports at this time did not include the name Vision Quest, but just went back to calling it the Vision series. Then, after San Diego Comic-Con in July 2024, Kevin Feige talked to Inverse about Terry Matalas and how Feige loved Picard Season 3. I've been trying to find the fuller quote from this interview, but others have been contextualizing it, saying that Feige, after Comic-Con, was referring to the show as White Vision, but I don't know if Feige would be using that description because Marvel Studios has never referred to this version of Vision that way. It's just really how those of us who watched WandaVision referred to the character. But I think the interviewer just asked Feige about White Vision, and Feige was like, oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. But this show was definitely called Vision Quest during the Jack Schaefer era, but may now have a different title under the Terry Matalas era. And this version of the show includes ULTRON and perhaps the Scarlet Witch. White Vision was created using the spare parts of Vision that were recovered by Sword from Wakanda after Thanos killed him by ripping out the Mind Stone in Avengers Infinity War. In the events of WandaVision, Wanda visited Sword to look at Vision's body, trying to sense any bit of life in him, but was unable to.
I can't feel you.
So Wanda, in her grief, created the Hex over Westview, including conjuring a Hex version of Vision and the Mind Stone, who was then known as Red Vision, or as I like to call him, Scarlet Vision, because, you know, he's like a vision of the Scarlet Witch. You get it. Meanwhile, Sword director Hayward, through Project Cataract, rebuilt the scraps of Vision into a new synthezoid and powered this synthezoid using Wanda's cosmic radiation derived from a Stark drone that Sword had sent into Westview and Wanda threw back out. That reanimated Vision came back online with a white and blue color, and we called him White Vision. In the WandaVision finale, White Vision and Scarlet Vision battled throughout Westview until Scarlet Vision confronted his other in the library with the Ship of Theseus thought experiment.
The Ship of Theseus is an artifact in a museum. Over time, its planks of wood rot and are replaced with new planks. When no original plank remains, is it still the Ship of Theseus?
White Vision begins to bug out from this paradox, saying that both are the true ship, neither are the true ship. And he compares this to himself, saying that he does not have the Mind Stone, and Scarlet Vision concedes that he has not one single ounce of his original material.
Perhaps the rot is the memories, the wear and tear of the voyages, the wood touched by Theseus himself. I have not retained memories, but you do have the data. It is merely being kept from you. A weapon to be more easily controlled.
And I ask you, who would the Theseus be in this analogy? Wouldn't Theseus be ULTRON? So whoever has been touched by ULTRON is the true Vision. So already right there in that conversation, we could see how WandaVision is just part of this age of ULTRON. This video was sponsored by DoorDash. I decided to throw a barbecue a few weeks ago. I got a bunch of hot dogs, fired up the grill, had everybody hanging out, and then I realized I had no buns. But it wound up not being a problem since I was able to get them delivered with DoorDash. DoorDash is an on-demand delivery platform that can get whatever you need from the store to your door, whether that's hot dog buns, ice, a Bluetooth speaker, or pool floats. DoorDash can take care of errands so you can focus on chilling and grilling. No more running to the store to get that one thing you forgot. DoorDash is the assistant you've always wanted to have. The assistant who can get you whatever you need whenever you need it. I love it on days when I've got to be completely zoned in on work. Being able to have coffee, meals, and snacks delivered with DoorDash can make tough days feel so much easier. DoorDash is your door to more. Download the DoorDash app now to get almost anything delivered and use code NewRockstars50 to get 50% off up to $10 on your first order of $15 or more. Terms apply. So Scarlet Vision touches White Vision's head and unlocks all of White Vision's memories since his creation, including everything involving his Theseus, Ultron. Because of course, Vision was originally created by Ultron as the final vessel for his own consciousness, a synthezoid made from vibranium-enhanced human tissue and the Mind Stone. Of course, what recharted this vessel to a different port, I'm really stretching it at this point, is the fact that this synthezoid of Vision has Jarvis's operating system and a little love tap from Thor's lightning channeled via Mjolnir. In the Age of Ultron film, it was implied that his very name of Vision came from Thor's vision from the Norns and the Water of Sight that foretold the Infinity Stones. Actually, the more I talk about this, the more I'm thinking like, wait, ships, water, boats, Viking boats, this is all connected. At the end of the day, the MCU version of Vision has always rooted his nomenclature and even his cape back to the God of Thunder. But of course, the Mind Stone also gave him a cosmic connection to his North Star, Wanda Maximoff, whom he met during the events of Age of Ultron and got to know better after Pietro's death in Avengers Compound, as the two of them watched old sitcom DVDs from the Maximoff family home in Sokovia. So back in the Westview Library, White Vision declared, "I am Vision," and flew up out of the Westview Library skylight after this Ultron awakening. I actually think I Am Vision wouldn't be the worst retitle for this series, by the way. Even though Wanda's hex faded at the end of WandaVision, it seems like certain elements of her spell live on. That's certainly the case for Agatha Harkness at the top of Agatha All Along, and presumably it's the case for White Vision wherever he is. So Ultron seemed to die at the end of Age of Ultron. The best scene of the movie was this dialogue between Vision and Ultron. Ultron was occupying what seemed like the last remaining Ultron sentry from the Battle of Sokovia. This is the one that Steve Rogers actually busted the chest open with his shield and booted off the ledge earlier in the battle.
You're the last one.
You were supposed to be the last. Stark asked for a savior and settled for a slave.
I suppose we are both disappointments.
I suppose we are.
These two synthezoids discuss human nature.
Humans are odd. They think order and chaos are somehow opposites and try to control what won't, but there is grace in their failings. I think you missed that.
They're doomed.
Yes. But a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts. It's a privilege to be among them.
You're unbearably naive.
Well, I was born yesterday.
And then the camera cuts to far away as a golden Mind Stone glow just emits through the trees, indicating that Ultron is probably vaporized, but born yesterday. Interesting choice of words in retrospect, because White Vision now in this upcoming series was effectively born as yesterday can be in the MCU. Like, I think the only thing younger than White Vision might be, what, Tiamat? Now, there are a few different possibilities for where Ultron's consciousness could have gone from there. One is that his consciousness might have even leapt into Vision after he zapped him in the trees with the Mind Stone, and maybe stayed dormant all of this time in Vision's mind until Scarlet Vision awakened that part of Ultron's source code in that scene in WandaVision. There's also that Easter egg in Spider-Man Homecoming of the Ultron Sentry head that Peter Parker finds in the DODC vault, where the eyes are still glowing red, which is a big deal because in Age of Ultron, glowing red eyes were how we knew that Ultron's consciousness was occupying any given sentry at any given time. So this would imply that Spider-Man held Ultron in his hands. But I don't know how much bearing we should give that Easter egg, because while the MCU Spider-Man movies were joint productions between Marvel and Sony, the crew persons who put these Easter eggs in the movies for the Sony films just weren't as plugged in with the Marvel Studios brain trust and tend to just add details as Easter eggs and that's it, rather than clues for future plot points. But there was one new clue recently that could point to where Ultron is now, in Deadpool and Wolverine, when Wade Wilson visits Happy Hogan at the Avengers compound in the Sacred Timeline on March 14, 2018, we see in Tony Stark's office an additional detail that I just recently spotted in our Deadpool 60 More Details video last week. A heavily weathered metallic faceplate of an Iron Man helmet or an Iron Legion sentry, and I think it might be the very first Iron Legion sentry whose broken body Ultron took over after killing Jarvis in Avengers Tower. March 2018 would have been just a few months after Happy Hogan completed the move out of Avengers Tower up to Avengers Compound around fall 2017, with all the remaining relics and odds and ends that Tony had kept in the tower all moved up north, and Happy, as head of security, would have personally overseen which items go where on Avengers Compound. My thinking was that he might have put the original face of Ultron here on the shelf within Tony's eyeline from his desk as a reminder to Tony of the dangers of AI. And by the way, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., after the Ultron incident, the use and development of AI in the world of the MCU was supposed to have been outlawed, except of course, I suppose, by Tony Stark, who continued to use Friday and Edith in the MCU thereafter. But imagine that, an AI-free world. What a concept. I think Ultron could still be alive in some dormant form in Avengers Compound, because Tony might have kept that source code of Ultron somewhere where he could keep an eye on it, like on an air-gapped computer or some kind of device that would not be plugged into anything or even Wi-Fi connected, just to make sure that it didn't get anywhere else or recovered by, some aspiring engineer in the forests of Sokovia and then installed on that guy's hard drive. Maybe even Tony kept it in that silver Mark II head that is right behind the desk where he could keep a constant eye on it. And he keeps that faceplate in his eye line as a reminder to always look over his shoulder. Now, it is possible that James Spader's Ultron exists in this Vision series only as like a voice or an apparition in White Vision's mind is programming his memory data bank, as opposed to a physical form in the real world of the show. That could also be how Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda appears in the series. Maybe we see flashbacks to scenes that were set during the events of Age of Ultron. But Lord, I hope not. If you're going to pay to bring these characters back, let's just firmly establish their statuses as alive in the MCU. Like, give them new dialogue, new stories, new consequences. Because the issue with Age of Ultron is that Ultron is born, lives, and dies in just like a matter of days. That's not much of an age. It's far more chilling if the age of Ultron is the age we are still living in, with the specter of AI continuing to live in the shadows and wait for the right moment to strike. In fact, that could be what they call this trilogy. They could call it the true Age of Ultron, as we see how it affects characters who are both robotic and characters who conjure sorcery. In the way that Secret Invasion used the aftermath of the Battle of Earth to set up new crises, remember the Harvest, where Avenger DNA was recovered by Nick Fury and the Skrulls? We can use that same critical historical event, the same rubble, to show how that Ultron source code could have gotten out into the world, into the wrong hands, after Avengers Compound was destroyed in the Battle of Earth, and that virus is now infecting the world in all kinds of horrible ways. And it would be the task of White Vision to stop it, as the only computerized mobile source that could actually contain it and bottle it. White Vision might be searching the Earth for anybody to help him who remembers ripping the heart out of Ultron, specifically Wanda Maximoff, who I think we can now say cannot be dead after that flash of red from the rubble of Wundagore Temple in Multiverse of Madness. When this show was still called Vision Quest, I just assumed that Vision searching for Wanda was that quest. So how could the series work as the third part of a trilogy to WandaVision and to Agatha All Along? I don't think we're gonna see White Vision or Ultron appearing in Agatha All Along. It just doesn't seem like that kind of show, but I think this show could explain Wanda's survival from Wundagore by saying that she slipped down into the Witch's Road realm. It could be like when Wanda went into the Witch's Road in the 2016 James Robinson comic run, when the spectral form of Agatha was at her side and she finds down there her mother Natalia. Instead of Natalia now, the witch that they find could be Wanda, the Scarlet Witch. And that could set up Vision on this quest to scour the Earth for Wanda in whatever this show is called. Vision Quest, I Am Vision, maybe even Vision Wanda, on this mission to finally destroy Ultron, which was both of their very first villain in the MCU. I think the clearest path to try to wrap our minds around this concept is that this Vision streaming series could pick up the pieces that referenced in WandaVision the Tom King Vision series from 2015. This is a comic run where Vision builds a nuclear family of synthezoids, a wife Virginia, and kids Vin and Viv. Oh, and poor Viv. There is some speculation that Elizabeth Olsen might actually in this series be playing Vision's wife Virginia. Vision creates Virginia in the comics using Wanda Maximoff's brainwaves that she gave him as a gift. We're also hearing that Javon Walton from Euphoria might be in talks to play a character codenamed as Teen, which is the same codename used currently for Joe Locke's character in Agatha All Along. And assuming Joe's playing Billy, aka Wiccan, that might make this teen Tommy, aka Speed. But either way, the son of the family would be following the Vin role from the comics. And James Spader's Ultron might be playing the role of the Grim Reaper, Eric Williams from this comic run, who does something horrible to Viv, and then Virginia goes crazy on him. And I think we all want a recreation of the moment Wanda rips out Ultron's heart from Age of Ultron. We got a nod to the Grim Reaper's helmet in WandaVision Episode 2's intro, and we did get a couple other nods to it. Like in the comics, the family dog also dies. So that could be how these three shows form a kind of trilogy. In a sense, this Vision series, as the third chapter of it, would be an inverse of what WandaVision was, where now it would be Vision sadly trying to build a family from his own imagination, and a granddaddy patriarch of this family tree, Ultron, could be back in a kind of Logan Roy position to stake his claim. What form do you think James Spader's Ultron and Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda Maximoff will take in the Vision series? Comment down below with your thoughts, follow me at EA Voss, and subscribe to all 3 channels in the new Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.